Today is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're featuring different ways Hamilton County is addressing the need for better mental health. Joining me today is Captain Scott Goff with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office and licensed clinical social worker Susan Shear-Vincent. Good morning.
Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
Scott, let's start with you. Let's talk about the, obvious stressors and trauma that folks in the Sheriff's Office experience on a pretty regular basis.
Sure. Well, I'll start with a regular trauma that we deal with every day, and that's conflict. So the human phobia, conflict in general, is difficult for all humans, and it takes a toll on the body. So whether you're working in corrections or as a patrol deputy or as a detective, that conflict takes a toll on your body and can wear you out. There are harmful side effects to it. And so there certainly is a need for mental health for our people. So I've started in 2007 as a law enforcement officer, and the need was there to begin with. It always was there. It wasn't always typically used, but there was always a need, whether it was a car crash or a critical incident, domestic that was violent, and you had to arrest one party, or a crime investigation that was disturbing, a sex crime, a child crime, a crime against children. Those things take a toll on you, no matter how resilient you are. And so there's always been a need for it.
Which is why I imagine you brought in Susan. Tell us about the wellness unit, how it came into being, and how you got Susan involved.
Right. Well, many years ago, we started doing critical incident stress management because we recognized that there was a need for mental health for police officers and corrections officers. So we started taking care of each other as a peer support and trying to take care of each other and giving them resilient skills and referring them to help. But that only goes so far. I'm not a mental health expert. Susan is. And so in 2019, Sheriff Quakenbush asked Susan to come on board to help take care of our people. And that extrapolates the influence of our program greatly to have Susan with us. And the influence is much greater with Susan.
Yeah, Susan, that's a big undertaking. What services are you providing, and what kind of response have you received?
You know, the response has really been very good. And I have been really just delighted at the response. And the services that I provide are, I do individual counseling. I will ride along with the officers, the merit officers. You know, their office is their car. So that's how I get to know them. I do education on wellness when we have a new officer come in. And we do that both here and at the jail, both in corrections. And then what we're working on now is starting to talk about resiliency. You know, what we want to teach the officers is we want to have individual resiliency and we want to have agency resiliency. You know, so we have a lot of collective resources so that when they do have a critical incident, that we can turn it into what we call post-traumatic growth afterwards. So those are some of the services that I provide, and we do debriefings. The other thing we're trying to do with the culture, because you know the officers are used to seeing things every day that are not normal to you and I, Tammy, or to the community, and so it is just what they do in their line of work. So we're trying to increase the awareness about what might be a critical incident, and so we do what we call a debriefing afterwards. And that's where we get together with the officers who were present for that incident. And we have a model where they can talk about it, because the quicker they talk about it, the better off they are, that it doesn't go into post-traumatic stress disorder.
And all of this is at no cost to the employee, Scott?
Yes, ma'am. So the employee doesn't have to deal with any of the paperwork or any of the billing at all. It's taken care of, so they don't have to see it. It's a much higher incentive to deal with someone like Susan, where they've got to know her on a ride along or working the book-in area to get to know, build that relationship, build that trust. And that's really important in law enforcement and corrections, to have someone that they can go to that they trust already.
She touched on the idea of the culture within a sheriff's office, or imagine fire and police would be the same, kind of a suck it up mentality up until recently.
Yeah, in years past, it was very much pick yourself up by your bootstraps and move on. And we know, and we have known for quite some time, that that's not the way to handle it. Stress has an effect on everyone, not just police officers, but the point to which it starts to affect you more is different. There's not a prescription of one critical incident or 20 critical incidents. Everyone's different. And so it could be one major incident that kind of is the hair that breaks the camel's back, or it could be the cumulative stress from burnout from years past of dealing with that trauma. So the body keeps the score. We try to take care of each other. And one of the ways we do that is with mental health with Susan. We know that physical health, fitness, cardiovascular health is an important pillar of that health. We also believe that mental health is equally important. And if we want to add additional pillars on there, we believe spiritual health is important with the chaplaincy program, and that community is that fourth pillar where we're really making sure those buckets are all full so we can be healthy enough and positive enough where we can have better relationships with the community. So we do a better service for the community when we're healthy ourselves.
That's a good point. And Susan, what about the stigma of mental health? I mean, are we getting to a point where it's easier to talk about? We accept that is part of our whole health, like Scott just said?
In the police culture, I mean, I think, we're talking about police culture and community, but in the police culture, I've been doing this, 30 years. And I would say in the last 3 to 5 years, I have seen a huge switch in police departments and the culture in general about saying, wait a minute, we can't do this job and not take better care of ourselves. I use the example of, the big redwood trees out in Washington State, and they're gorgeous and they're beautiful. And if you just hit them once with an axe, they would stand and they would be fine. But if you hit them every day, they're eventually going to fall. And that's what we have to prevent. And I'm seeing agencies such as Hamilton County Sheriff's Department embrace that. And it's so exciting.
Scott, is that a fair assessment? You think the guys and gals who work for the sheriff's office are okay with this and embracing the idea that they do need to take care of their mental health?
Absolutely. And I won't lie, it has been a slow transition to get to this point, but we've worked it up for many years to get to this point. But our new employees, this is the new normal. It's normal to take care of yourself and your mental health. And they are very positive and receptive to it. And they come to the meetings and they reach out to Susan if they need it. So we still have a lot of work to do. But yes, it is the new normal, and it is a good thing. It is a better thing that we're doing. And I'm glad to be part of it.
Scott,
well, can I add one thing to that? It's
yeah.
officer driven, Tammy. It's good that I'm here as a mental health person, but the success of the program is that it's officer driven. And that's what I'm seeing. They're embracing it and they're driving the program, and I'm coming alongside.
I love it. It's fantastic. Scott and Susan, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it today.